Faker has absolutely had enough. Yesterday, T1 were knocked down to the lower bracket of the LCK Spring playoffs in a 3-0 sweep at the hands of Hanwha Life Esports. Now, in the post-game press conference, Faker shared how they've been unable to practice properly due to DDoS attacks on the team, which he described as simply unfair. Here's everything you need to know. Alright, so back in February, we saw the LCK brought to its knees by a series of DDoS attacks that caused one series to go on for almost 7 hours, driving some players to the brink of sleep and everyone else to the brink of insanity.
Anyway, have a wonderful day and take care.
And a few days later, the T1 versus Fox series suffered the same fate and had to stagger through several pauses, leading to an LCK announcement after the game that all remaining games for that week would be pre-recorded and broadcast later. A few weeks after that, they also announced they will be playing on an offline game server that was not influenced by external networks. Thanks to that, the Spring Split hasn't been plagued with any more pauses, but that doesn't mean the DDoS drama is over. Despite finishing second in the regular season, T1 looked off the pace throughout Thursday's series and fell pretty handedly to Hanwha Life Esports in a clean 3-0 sweep. In the post-game interview, when asked what could have gone better, Faker had something to get off his chest. Video and translation from Ashley Kang.
경기 내에서 그냥 조금 저희가 플레이오프를 준비하는 과정에서 다른 팀들은 연습을 할 수 있는 데 반해서 저희는 솔로 랭크 연습을 하지 못하기 때문에 전반적으로 좀 경기력이 많이 떨어졌던 게 조금 있었던 것 같고.
And the reason they were unable to practice? Continued DDoS attacks on their solo queue accounts whenever they played ranked and on the entire team whenever they tried to scrim against other teams.
다른 팀들에 비해서 저희가 좀 공평하지 못한 연습 기회를 얻은 것은 저는 맞다고 생각하고 그 외에도 저희가 오늘 경기가 조금 좀 아쉽게 진 부분이 여러 요소가 있겠지만 저희가 할 수 있는 것은 이제 남은 기간 동안 어쨌든 그런 안 좋은 환경 속에서도 최선의 준비를 하는 게 가장 중요하다고 생각합니다.
Now, it's really important to emphasize here that Faker was not saying the loss itself was unfair or that Hanwha Life didn't deserve to win. He's not making excuses. He's simply saying that their inability to properly practice due to DDoS attacks is an unfair situation to be in. At the end of the day, Hanwha Life could only beat what was in front of them, and they clearly deserved the win. Peanut was smurfing, and Viper and Delight kind of bot gap T1. Carrier has gotten a lot of flack online as well for maybe going a bit overboard with unconventional support picks and kind of underperforming as a result. But regardless of the game's result, T1 are clearly justifiably upset and have been for the past month. Owner, Gumayushi and Coach Koma have all aired their grievances in post-game interviews. Faker's comments are simply just the latest. Anyone who's checked out T1's regular solo queue accounts would have seen the last time they played on them was over 2 weeks ago. This coincided with T1's general manager Becca announcing the players will not be streaming for the foreseeable future. But it's been pretty shocking to hear the extent to which their practice has been disrupted. Yesterday, Becca also streamed to fans to add further context to the situation. A summary in English was provided on X by Ann Pilot. He reportedly said T1 has been facing DDoS attacks since December, which made solo queue and scrim practice impossible, and that the LCK have provided players with super accounts. However, the MMR of the account is said to have not matched up, and the quality of the solo queue games suffered as a result, but the scrim situation is at least okay now.
They for sure have secret accounts somewhere, but even then, what is it? You're playing in bronze on fresh accounts? Maybe Riot's trying to help them by giving them Riot accounts. The second that one's found, boom, it's gone. They have to swap again. But it doesn't even matter because their internet's getting taken out.
And we also got to hear from European legend Reckless, who appeared on Cagel's stream today. He's been T1 Academy support since the end of last year, and so has also been a direct victim of these endless DDoS attacks.
Right when the game started, our internet went down. It was down for 1 hour. So the game was paused for 1 hour during our last game.
Oh shit.
And then we unpaused and played when internet got back, but Valorant was practicing, they couldn't practice. T1's main team was practicing, they couldn't practice, and we were having an official game and we could not play. So
Wait, did they get penalized for it, or they just had to wait for you?
They just waited for us, yeah.
Now, some have been a little critical of the reasonings given by T1, questioning why the team wasn't able to provide a safe environment for them to play solo queue in, while others felt this was more than a little harsh, when Faker was simply being honest and not downplaying Hanwha Life's performance. As for who is responsible for these DDoS attacks and their motives, it's still unclear. Other teams have been affected, but T1 seems to be being targeted more than others. Giving T1 Riot accounts and them now being able to scrim is good news, but as far as anyone can tell, there are still security flaws here. An offline server may have worked for the LCK, but is the league's integrity under threat if specific teams are being DDoS into oblivion whenever they try and practice? The silence from Riot HQ here is starting to get a little bit deafening for some people. Apologists have claimed that there's not much they can do, but a timely blog post from the Dota 2 devs last month outlined how Valve battled DDoS attacks in Dota and CSGO back in 2015 and successfully created a network of proxies that concealed their game servers' IP addresses from the outside world. While the debate rages on about what should be done here, T1's attention turns to this Sunday, where they'll face D+ in the lower bracket quarterfinals. If they lose this, they're done for the split, along with their hopes of representing Korea at MSI. And that's one trophy the org will really want to grab with this world's winning roster before they eventually go their separate ways, because it's been 7 years since they last won it, and Faker should know he lifted it. But they're going to have to pull out all of the stops and get some quality practice in if they don't want a repeat performance of what we saw yesterday. They'd be lucky to take a game off D+ if they don't. But if I had a nickel for every time I stood before you guys in the past and said that T1 and Faker have the odds stacked against them and then they've gone on to glory, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but you know, it's weird that it happened twice.